Thank you, Lynn. Thank you to the small groups group for helping plan and present this. Lynn McDonald, Michael Coppage, Mary Hagan, Ann Mannix, Kathy Smeets, Megan Sulak, and today Ron Robinson as well. I have sought connection and friendship and community throughout my life. I've been a Boy Scout, a Big Brother, Big Sister participant. I was in the church club, chess club and church choir. I've been in gaming groups. I became a member of a fraternity. I've gone to the Rainbow Family. I participated in a local theater group in Columbus for a while. All of these were good. All of these brought me some joy, some connection, and they all lacked at least something as well. In my 20s, I began investigating intentional communities, some of them using the word commune, some not, some talking about co-housing. I visited several, including a co-housing site in Kankakee that had their own telephone exchange, one of the few private exchange in this country. And they also had a lot of wind power and basementfuls of batteries. I visited a permaculture site in southern Ohio where they were planting crops through the winter in half-buried refrigerators to keep the crops warm. And one of them lived in a giant teepee. I went to the East Wind community in the Ozarks and helped them make hammocks and nut butters to support that organization. I had my first and only haggis there and participated in their child care co-op. I strongly considered staying with those folks. And I visited Zendik Farm in Texas, which was way too cult-like for my taste. I stayed one night, got up early and left, taking a young woman with me who asked me to get her out of there. I became a Unitarian Universalist in Columbus, Ohio, and I started going there and looked for people my age. We did eventually form the young adult group, but before that, I joined a men's group. And I don't think it's overstating to say that they saved my life. We met weekly for several years. Attendance was not mandatory, but we'll do our best, we said. After the second or third week with those men, it was easy for me to prioritize attending. The ache in my heart, the years-long drive to find a place to belong, this was the place I had been going. There are several definitions and manifestations of loneliness. The Columbus Men's Group did not meet all of them, yet these men, all at least a generation older, with families and careers, who spoke candidly about love and sex and fathers and wives and work and success, and their need for friendship resolved enough of my loneliness to stabilize my life. Barry, Ron, Steve, these men provided the space to pause and breathe and address some of the other lonely aspects of my life without the desperation or the lack of perspective to which I had become accustomed. There is a loneliness epidemic in our country. Loneliness, it has been studied, loneliness can be as deadly as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. Loneliness is not good for us in so many ways, and that's why our Unitarian Universalist Association has lots of resources for small groups to create connection and vitality and end loneliness. They create lots of curricula that we can use. They're making new ones all the time. Some congregations create thematic ministry so that you can have the sermons and the religious education and the small groups in the church all have sort of the same themes and build on each other. This congregation has several small groups already, and we are creating more. Noticing the last 20 months how people are craving connection and participation with each other, the Committee on Ministry has asked a group of us to form some more small groups. And there are a variety of these things. Some people want to sit around and discuss erudite concepts. Some want to discuss their feelings and their life journeys. Some want anything but that and would prefer to be something active. Some will meet weekly, some monthly, some will be closed to any new members, some will be open all the time. Some will be in real life, some will be on Zoom, some will be a mix of both. There's a lot of different options, and the small groups group are here today to help talk about some of those things. And there'll be an opportunity for you to indicate interest in some of these if you have questions. There's paper ballots here in the church, and there'll be a poll at the end of the sermon for people in First Zoomitarian to click your interest. And so the first person to speak is Lynn McDonald out there in First Zoomitarian.
Hi there. The groups that I am interested in helping form are chalice circles, and you've probably heard about chalice circles. They're a Unitarian thing. A chalice circle is a monthly group. It could be at a different time interval, but usually of about 5 to 8 people, consistent members. Usually these groups are closed for a period of time to allow them to really get to know each other safely and build intimacy. And they follow a structured format, including opening words, check-in, the topic of the day, readings, sharing, and closing words. They give small groups of people the opportunity to get to know each other and share more deeply than conversations at coffee hour or things like that. There are lots of sessions and series, as Chip was describing, that have been already made available through the UUA. And so I'm envisioning using some of those curricula that are already created. And each group could choose their own topics. As part of this, groups might decide to create and implement a community project, a service project in our community. So if you're interested in something like that, you can contact me. I'm the one organizing this. We've already had some interest, so I think at least one of these groups is going to go forward, and we'd love to have anyone else.
Thank you, Lynn. And Megan Sulak also has an idea.
My idea for a small group was to find a way for parents and kids to get together so that the parents can get to know each other and the kids can start forming friendships. The RE committee has the same goals, and so this small group idea was combined into the monthly family gatherings that the RE committee organizes. And these are going to be outdoors until it's safe to gather indoors. But this group is not just for parents and families. We need a lot of participation and support. We need people to sit and color or do crafts with the kids. We need people to run around and chase the kids who never run out of energy. And as a small story, at our last gathering, when we got there, Michael was really upset. He wanted to go to Kids Kingdom and only wanted to go to Kids Kingdom. And I was sad that my chance to sit down and talk with adults was going to be taken away by going with Michael to play with him at Kids Kingdom. But then Gail took him so I could sit down, have a break. And Michael got to know another adult in the congregation. And when they came back, he was happy and playing. So if you do not have children, or if your children are grown up and you don't really need a break from them anymore, we still need you to participate if you are interested. So this is a 2-part call. First, to let families with children know that this group is available whenever you have the time to come. And second, to those who are willing to offer support to those families by playing with the kids and getting to know them a little bit more. Part of a church to me is giving my kids another community outside of school and family, and I look forward to working together to build that community. Becky Lindstrom has done a lot of the organizing. She's done the bulk of the organizing for these groups, so she will be the point person, or you can also contact me. Thank you.
Indeed. Thank you, Megan. Congregations are one of the few places left in our society that have multi-generational community. So it's a vital thing that we're offering here. Thank you for doing that. I've got a games group that I would like to start. Sometimes it's only by focusing on a shared activity and taking all the pressure off that people find the way into talking about their own lives and stories. And sometimes they just play for the sheer thrill of competition. So we'll have some games going on, probably monthly. You look for the chirp for more of that. I'll also be doing a group that's more focused on undoing racism and educating ourselves on the various ways that manifests. Probably reading a book is the next thing we'll do. We've done some of that already. And now Ron, and then Ann, and then Michael all have groups to talk about too. First, Ron.
Good morning. Great to see everyone everywhere. Many of us who love gardening have put our gardens to bed, but even though it is winter, we're still thinking about the upcoming spring. And so this idea did not come from me. This came from Mary Hagan, so I'm speaking on her behalf. And she had the idea of sharing our garden space. Taking a walk through other gardens would happen in spring through fall. It's interesting to see all the people who garden and see how our gardens are all different. Many gardeners appreciate others enjoying their space. The schedule would depend on weather and interest. So if this is something that interests many of you, like it does me, then we're to contact Mary Hagan.
Well, I have a quote. When the stranger says, "What is the meaning of this city? Do you huddle close together because you love each other?" What will you answer? We all dwell together to make money from each other, or this is a community. When I was young, my family lived in the suburbs, and we saw the city as government. You know, they pick up the trash, they do the utilities, and nobody cared about it. As an adult, I believe we need to be rooted in community. Decisions about where you buy a house or where you send your kids to school have ripple effects on the whole community. We can do little and big things to build our connections with the community. Things like taking food to Broadway Christian Parish or showing up at the next Faith in Indiana hearing. Or we can try to do bigger things. Like Kathy Platt and I and Nancy King and a bunch of other people got a new building for the Y. And it was hard, but we got it together, and the Y has a lovely building now. Got $5 million. We can change our neighborhood. Now I'm working with others to establish a land bank so vacant land will not be bought up by out-of-town speculators. But change doesn't come easy. Leaders may have other ideas, or good ideas get lost in the crush of daily life. Having company along the way makes a big difference. A group can do more than an individual, and having support helps to lighten the load. So this is a support group for people who care about racism, equality, democracy, and community. We can share food, I think that will be essential, and stories, and do things together. We can help each other out, we can read books, and invite guest speakers. I want to make this a fun group. One thing I would like to do is have a calendar for the church that features positive community leaders. So every month we could have a picture of someone, talk about what they do, And then pass the calendars around, because I think it's important to have inspiring people around you. So I hope this group will help to give our church meaning and stand for something more than a weekly coffee hour. So join us, and we plan to have a good time and some good conversation. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Michael Coppage. I think many of us come to this church in order to build and sustain friendships. And social psychologists tell us that one of the best ways to build friendships is to meet with people regularly over a long time. Furthermore, some of us prefer to do things rather than just sit around and talk. So I'm trying to start a weekly activity group. Each week, or at least hopefully each week, it may not be every week, there will be a different activity hosted by a different person. Some of the activities will be outdoors, some indoors, COVID permitting. For example, we could go for walks. I'll give you some other examples in a minute. But the goal is to give members and friends opportunities to get together in assorted groupings, doing fun, novel, or interesting activities so that they can gradually develop friendships. Some of the activities will accommodate families with children. Until we can really get together in person, most of the activities would be outdoors, like hiking, caroling, skating, tubing, maybe playing bocce if it's not too cold, or biking. Eventually, more and more activities could be indoors, playing cards, board games, learning a craft, reading aloud, playing charades, doing a table read of a play, cooking, volunteering in a soup kitchen, watching a movie, or other things, whatever hosts are interested in doing. So don't be surprised if in the near future I call you and discuss with you a possibility of sharing some kind of activity that really motivates you, that you'd be willing to host just one time. I'm not putting a big burden on anybody, but if you could feel willing to step up and host just one event, that would help make this program a success. Thanks.
Thank you, Ron, Ann, and Michael. One last group that I'll talk about yet this morning. We're about continual improvement in our lives. I talk a lot about evolution and growing and changing, and I am growing and changing as a minister, and it will be great to seek your feedback on how to do that even better. So probably on Tuesdays, we're working that out still. Each week that I preach on a Sunday, a few days later, I would welcome some comments back, and we can discuss how it went, how it could be better, and what the long-term improvement might be like. I imagine sharing a text. We should have the recordings we can look at and show that. So if you're interested in helping me improve my preaching and my ministry, that'll be a thing we're doing as a small group as well. You'll notice that some of these groups had some overlap in them. Great minds think alike. Great hearts think alike. There are many ways to connect with each other, to learn about each other, to ease loneliness, and to co-create joy. And small groups might just save the world. I talked about Stephen Biko's quote earlier, "The most potent weapon in the hands of the oppressor is the mind of the oppressed." When the oppressor can convince you that their lies are true and that no one else thinks like you feel more isolated and more powerless and do not challenge the status quo. When you hear things like, "Everyone believes the government is right about this," all right-thinking people know those protesters are in the wrong if they just didn't resort to violence. It's a shame, but all the folks of that ethnic group just seem to lack the basic decency of our ethnic group. Unless we are in deep relationship with people different from us, it is too easy to believe the things that we are told. When we are in accountable relationship, we learn how similar all of our human cousins are and how regrettable some of our unexamined beliefs really are. Small groups that include deep sharing bring us together and break down stereotypes and disempower the oppressor's lies while empowering people at our level, the grassroots. I had here to talk a little bit more about sort of the classic form and why that's the best way to do this. Lynn has already talked a lot about chalice circles and what they look like, so I will fast forward to just say, if you haven't heard the thing that you're most interested in today, there is still many opportunities for you to create a group. Let us know, let Lynn know, let me know, and we can help you advertise and find more people that want to do that thing. Whether you want to do it in real life or on Zoom, or hopefully both, like we said with the Lansing congregation, we will connect in authentic, loving relationship. So may we be.